In the heart of Manhattan, the towering glass building of Sterling and Hawthorne Realty gleamed under the morning sun. Inside, the office buzzed with the usual flurry of brokers, assistants, and board members preparing for their weekly executive meeting. Among them, no one noticed the tall, sharply dressed man entering the lobby. His tailored suit and briefcase seemed ordinary, but there was something commanding about his presence. This man was David Sterling, the black CEO and founder of the firm, a man who had built the company from a modest two-room office into one of New York's most prestigious real estate powerhouses. Yet today he was David Sterling, CEO. Today he was just another client, a visitor, a stranger, someone the staff had never seen before. He had donned a simple disguise, glasses, a hat, and a carefully chosen demeanor that would make him appear unassuming. As he walked past the receptionist, she barely glanced up. "Morning," she muttered, already distracted by her phone. David smiled inwardly. This was exactly how he wanted it. He had been frustrated for months. Board members were making risky deals, ignoring his warnings, and prioritizing their personal interests over the firm's legacy. He needed to see the inner workings firsthand, without the pretense and obsequious behavior they reserved for him as CEO. He wandered through the open office floor, observing meetings, interactions, and casual conversations. The arrogance of the board stunned him. One executive bragged loudly about a shady investment deal, unaware that the man standing behind him, listening carefully, was the very owner of the empire. Another whispered to a colleague about bypassing corporate policies to secure personal bonuses. Each revelation tightened David's jaw. He had worked too hard, sacrificed too much, and now he realized the very people he had trusted to protect his company were undermining it. Finally, he reached the executive lounge where the board was having coffee before the 10 a.m. meeting. They laughed and joked, their chatter filled with insider secrets they thought only they knew. David listened quietly, letting every careless word sink in. He imagined the confrontation, the shock on their faces when they realized who he really was. But he didn't rush. That wasn't his style. He wanted the full picture, to document every misstep and betrayal. He took notes discreetly, mentally noting each person's weaknesses, each questionable decision, each act of deceit. This visit wasn't just observation, it was preparation. By the end of the day, he planned to turn the tables completely. As he walked back toward the elevator, one board member glanced at him curiously. "Do we know that guy?" she asked, shrugging. No one answered. David smiled under his disguise. "Not yet," he thought. "But by tonight, everyone here will know exactly who I am and what happens when trust is broken." And with that, the black CEO, disguised as a stranger, silently promised himself that justice, strict, swift, and unforgettable, would be served. The calm before the storm had only just begun. It was a cold, gray morning in Manhattan, the kind that made the towering glass building shimmer with a frosty sheen. Marcus Lawson, the black CEO of Lawson & Co., a multi-million-dollar real estate firm, adjusted the brim of his cheap baseball cap and pulled his hoodie tighter around his shoulders. No one would recognize him today, not in his jeans, sneakers, and unassuming jacket. Today he was Marcus Lawson, the feared and respected CEO. He was just another visitor, blending into the flow of early commuters. For months, Marcus had been growing frustrated with his board of directors. The executives he had entrusted with the company's growth had become complacent, indulging in self-interest, approving risky deals that benefited themselves, and ignoring the employees who made the firm run. Board meetings had turned into echo chambers of arrogance, and complaints from staff were routinely dismissed. He had tried emails, warnings, and private conversations, but nothing changed. He needed to see the truth for himself, unfiltered, unsanitized. Marcus walked into the sleek lobby, his heart steady but his mind sharp. The receptionist, a young woman named Lisa who had worked there for 2 years, barely looked up. "Can I help you?" she asked, polite but distracted. Marcus smiled politely. "I'm here to inquire about investment opportunities," he said casually, using a neutral tone, the kind that erased any hint of authority. As he moved through the office, He noticed familiar faces glancing briefly at him, but none seemed to recognize him. He passed by Jonathan, the CFO, engrossed in his phone, and Margaret, the head of HR, busy rearranging files. He even caught snippets of a conversation between two junior managers complaining about the board's latest decisions. The irony wasn't lost on him. The very people who were undermining his company had no idea the CEO was walking among them, silently observing. Marcus spent hours in the office that day, pretending to be a potential client, asking questions about current projects, upcoming developments, and staff performance. Each answer he received painted a clearer picture of a board disconnected from reality. One director, in particular, boasted about cutting corners to save money while keeping the CEO in the dark. Marcus's blood boiled, but he remained calm, collecting evidence. By midday, he had a mental map of every mistake, every act of negligence, and every moment of dishonesty. He paused by the windows overlooking the city, imagining the confrontation that would come later. He knew that exposing them would send shockwaves, not just through the firm, but through the real estate world. His staff, who often felt powerless, would finally see that justice could be swift and decisive. As the clock ticked toward the late afternoon, Marcus walked into the main boardroom under the guise of a client meeting. Little did they know, the man in the baseball cap and hoodie was the very person who owned their careers, their fortunes, and their mistakes. Today was the day the masks would come off.